Warden Blackwall, aka Tom Rainier, for the people with the inside information about the game. That is, of course, a major spoiler, but all of these character discussions are full of spoilers, so there you go. The biggest complaint I've seen, by and large, concerning Blackwall has been that he is boring. This is what I hear all the time. Blackwall is boring. I can see the perspective, I just don't share it. I don't find Blackwall boring at all. I find him mellow, and he gives off the appearance of being a very simple and straightforward kind of guy. He's a Grey Warden. He's out there to fight evil. He believes in the Grey Warden cause. He believes in the symbolism, above all, the symbolism of the Grey Wardens. We can see that with regards to his commentary concerning the Adamant debacle. Sometimes his obsession with the symbolism of the Grey Wardens borders on idolatry. Well, actually, it is a form of idolatry, isn't it? He really does not think Grey Wardens can do any harm. Even after Adamant, even after all of the mistakes the Grey Wardens made, depending on how you role-play, and fair enough, but if I actually were the Inquisitor, starduskLP were the Inquisitor, I certainly would have banished the Grey Wardens. Too many muck-ups and too many fuck-ups for my taste. But no, he sticks with them. So he's kind of straightforward, at least on the surface he is. And later on, of course, we find out there's more than meets the eye. He's not a Grey Warden at all. And of course, there's a lot of suspicious talk. Well, what suspicious talk so much as when you ask him questions about the Grey Wardens, he's not necessarily elusive, but he's purposefully general, right? Oh, Grey Wardens do this, and you stick some swords in this, and da-da-da. So there are grounds for suspicion, and later on you find out, boom, it's a little bit more than just that. Tom Rainier, not Warden Blackwall. But what makes Warden Blackwall or Tom Rainier interesting to me, I don't love the character, but I think he's an interesting character, is that the massive moral dilemma he faces. I mean, no other character in the game, at least on that scope, faces a similar moral dilemma, a similar moral problem. You could argue the Seeker corruption is a moral issue, an ethical issue that Cassandra has to deal with internally, and that certainly makes some sense. But Warden Blackwall, this is massive. I mean, he masks himself as a completely different man and goes about his life and pretends he's something that he's not. This is, of course, a trope that is not completely unknown in literature and storytelling, but it's one that was used pretty well, I think, overall. And you can see the amount of self-loathing he has for his former self. I mean, he really despises Tom Rainier. Tom Rainier despises Tom Rainier, which explains why his reverence of the Grey Wardens not only borders on idolatry, it is idolatry. He wanted so much to become something else, something that he wasn't, that he almost forgot his former self. If it weren't, or if it hadn't been for the hanging that was about to take place of his man or men under his command back then when he gave the orders to carry out the murders, he probably would have gone on playing the role of Warden Blackwall. Everyone would have thought he is Warden Blackwall. Although we don't see it behind the scenes, but there might have been suspicion when the calling issue is going on, and of course he doesn't really have much to say about that. He says, "I do not fear the calling, blah, blah, come what may." Very inspirational. He has inspirational speeches. But he's a man that's really torn apart at the inside. He's torn himself. And if you play the kind of Inquisitor that he's fond of, either friendship or romance, I mean, you can see he's a loyal guy. He really has changed. And the greatest indication of this is a conversation he has with Cole after the revelation that he's not Warden Blackwall but Tom Rainier. Because Cole, of course, knew this stuff. Cole senses pain automatically. And so, of course, he sensed the pain of Warden Blackwall or Tom Rainier. And he knew something happened. And Cole certainly would have revealed it if he had posed a danger. Remember, Cole's out to help people, and he kills bad people. Very simplistic view of Cole. I'll talk about Cole eventually as well. But no, he knew, Cole sensed, being a spirit of compassion, Cole sensed that Tom Rainier was no longer the old Tom Rainier. So there is some redemptive quality to the story, along with the deception. And I don't think many of us saw it coming, at least the first time we played. So that was reasonably well done. But Blackwall, yeah, in a way he's straightforward, even with his redemptive revelation. He's a guy who wants to do good. He messed up really badly in the past. He committed heinous crimes. But later on, down the years, he's trying to play the hero and doing a fairly good job of it. He is simple-minded. He's not someone who's, you can see the banter between him and Vivienne. They don't like each other, obviously. He gets along with Sarah. They're both kind of working class, although Tom Rainier probably wasn't working class unless he moved up through the ranks. He's a likable guy, and unless you're a vindictive inquisitor, it's hard to sort of just sentence him to, I don't know, living under the false identity. Not that it would have a real impact on the gameplay per se, or setting him free. Self-loathing, yeah, is the best way to describe Warden Blackwall or Tom Rainier. But he's not a character that I think is a badly written character. He doesn't have any super exciting aspects to him. But if I had to choose between Sarah and Warden Blackwall, I'd take Warden Blackwall any day. The thing about him, too, is you do see character development, because at the moment of truth, if you wish to call it that, he's willing to own up to his crimes and take the noose instead of the man under his command, which, yes, he committed the crimes. Perhaps he should have done that from the get-go, from the very start, but he did it later on, fair enough. But the fact is that he did it. He got it done. I'm not sure if Sarah would have done the same thing. Warden Blackwall is a man with a conscience, and he's willing to listen to some degree. He's not a bad character. I don't really have these issues of he's just boring. Yeah, he doesn't have that exciting angle to him. He's not a Horn Kunari. He's not a mage. He's just a guy who fights with a sword and a shield, or alternatively a two-hander, and he tries to do the right thing. And then later on, you find out that a long time ago he did a very wrong thing, and ever since then he's been trying to make up for it. And that's his story. It's not a bad story, and I think it fits in more or less into the Inquisition. Is he an essential character? Not really. He's related to the plot, though. He claims to be Grey Warden, and one of the major plot issues is this issue with Adamant and the Grey Warden and the false calling and what have you. So yeah, Tom Rainier, to me, is not a bad character. And I think in some ways, it's one of the, as far as I even appreciate romances, it's one of the nicer romances in the game, if you actually do it, based on what I've seen. I've not fully completed it, but yeah, Tom Rainier, one-time trader, man seeking redemption, and I think we can all say that he's come quite close to actually achieving the redemption that he sought in assuming the identity of Warden Blackwall. That's all I have to say about Warden Blackwall, aka Tom Rainier. I will be talking about the next character in my next character discussion. As always, thanks for watching, and enjoy the new year. This year is the year of Zeus's Thunderbolt. May he watch over you and preserve you. Bye-bye.